evolutionary biology has traditionally, I think, struggled with altruism. It's one thing to, come up with models that say, well, okay, what I do here, I'm doing it because I think I'm being generous, but it actually benefits myself. So if I do something that benefits a descendant, so if you're kind to one of your children, for example, a biologist who's reducing everything to atoms could say, well, okay, you're benefiting your genes. There's the selfish gene all the way down, as Dawkins would say. Even slightly further out, your tribe, your immediate social group, the same might apply. You might pick fleas off, Abdul, and in return he'll pick fleas off you, and to go, everything's wonderful, and then do a great podcast together. It gets a bit trickier when you start going, outside your group. So there's no beneficial action at all. So if you're walking, in your neighborhood and you see an old lady who's fallen into the river, who's no genetic relationship to you at all, whatever, and she's had her children, she's passing her DNA, so biologically her work is done, and you dive into the river to save her, it's hard to go, is that a foolish thing? Particularly if you haven't finished reproducing. Why put your selfish genes at risk for someone who can bear no help to you? And some biologists have struggled over the years. So E.O. Wilson, very famous, sort of sociobiologist, literally tries to find ways to explain, well, there's some genetic relationship there. And he even tried to work out a formula, how much, if you're willing to lay your life down for a direct relative or two half cousins or something, it gets quite ridiculous. And there's a wonderful book called Darwinian Fairy Tales by the Australian philosopher David Stove. I think it's David Stove. And he just goes to town on this. He's an atheist. But his point, he said, this just shows that evolutionary biology does not explain everything about humanity. It's a lovely book, actually, Darwinian Fairy Tales, because he's not advancing creationism. It's a great book to give to a skeptical friend. But he does drive a coach and horses through the altruism piece. I think it's altruism that is hard. And you can find, atheist writers literally saying things, Derek, like there is no such thing as altruism. It's an illusion that the altruism doesn't exist. To which I just would want to say, well, they're obviously in the wrong social circle, quite frankly. Maybe if you just hang out with fellow academics on universities, it is like nature's red in tooth and claw and citations in academic journals. But for the rest of us, yeah. So I think Christianity is a better story. And by the way, if we use that language with our friends, a better story, sometimes we try and take no prisoners in apologetics. If you just go a better story, that leaves you open to going, I'm still open to evolution playing part of it. I'm not saying it's all or nothing, but I am saying it's a better story and a more compelling thing. And what we tried to do, by the way, and have you ever wondered, 28 chapters, 28 wandering questions, you build this gentle cumulative case. So altruism on its own might not convince you that perhaps the Christian faith is worth a look, but when you take this piece and this piece and this piece and this piece, it builds up, doesn't it?